I thought I would do a quick video for anybody new to DAW recording or who has not yet ventured into using sends, buses, and aux tracks for their recordings. First, some definitions. A send in a DAW is simply a control to split and send the signal from an audio or MIDI track someplace else. In plumbing, think of a T with a valve on the third leg of the T. The send is the valve, and it controls how much flow goes out the T. A bus. A bus is the internal pathway from the send to another track. In plumbing, think of the horizontal pipe that comes out of the T to another track, and there are two types of buses. There are send buses and there are output buses. I'll get into this in a minute. An aux track is a track that does not record audio or MIDI directly on it, but will pass audio from those types of tracks through it, and is the type of track to which you are sending or outputting from other tracks. Unfortunately, DAWs can have different approaches to sending up buses and aux tracks and sends, but the basic signal flow and concept is the same. So here we have a session template of mine in Pro Tools. It's a basic acoustic guitar and vocals. It has two mono tracks for the guitar, left and right, because I record with a spaced pair of mics, one left, one right. It has a mono lead vocal track and a mono background vocal track. It has two separate aux tracks. One is a parallel reverb track, and one is a main sub-bus track, often referred to in the audio industry as a two-bus or mix bus. And it is an aux track that the entire session gets sent through, and then it outputs to the mains 1 and 2, which I renamed stereo monitor. This is the master track, or as it's called in Pro Tools, a master fader. So why in just a simple guitar and vocal session would I want a parallel reverb track and a parallel two-bus track? It allows me to do a couple of things. In the parallel reverb track, it allows me to send both the guitar and the vocals at different levels. It allows me to EQ the reverb differently than I would want to EQ on the audio tracks themselves. So here's the EQ for my parallel reverb track. As you can see, it's got a high and low pass filters that are basically letting the mids through. And so that's what I'm wanting the reverb to affect, is those frequencies. On the audio tracks themselves, high pass filter set, for example, here just below the low E string on the guitar. Same thing on my vocal tracks. It's set basically the same place. Now, the thing about using a send is it allows 100% of the dry guitar signal or the dry vocal signal to come through and actually go out to the main 2-mix track at 100% dry. Then I break off, using that plumbing analogy. This is my valve for my send, and I can control the amount of send that goes over here to the reverb, and I can have a different amount for the guitar than I have on the vocals. In fact, in Pro Tools it uses faders to control the send level. So here I'm at -9 for the guitars. So that means what I have is, as I lower the fader, it will have less signal going through, and so there'll be less reverb effect. If I raise the fader, it'll have more reverb effect. So as you can see, I've got less reverb effect on the vocal than I do on the guitar tracks in this session. Routing. So the 4 audio tracks, these two and these two, are routed into folder tracks in Pro Tools, but it's essentially the same as an aux track. So the outputs of these are routed to the inputs of these, and it looks like this. So you can see the outputs are routed over to here, these outputs are routed over to here. I route the two routing folders to the 2-mix track. And that looks like this. So from the 2-mix over here to the input. So these are using output buses to accomplish this. So I am routing from the sends on these tracks over here. So the send is labeled M7, 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 M7. They're coming in over here. They'll go through this. Meanwhile, like I said, 100% of the dry signal is already going through to the main 2-mix. And then after the EQ and the reverb, then this also gets routed over to the 2-mix. So that's how it works. And it works very well.